Welcome in the last episode. In this chapter we are going to create complete templates ready for painting. So last time we finished with this full ready car, body, low dimension interior, low detail interior, high detailed interior. What we have to do first, to create templates, we need two things. First, we need to render the mesh layout into a bitmap, and that's the first thing we are going to care about. So we're selecting all objects on the scene, unwrap them, entering the UVW editor, and as you can see we have a lot of edges, a lot of vertex here. In this list we can pick each ID we used. For example, ID 1. As you can see, this is bonnet, that's engine cover, wing, and the lines and points in here, those the things you see now, it's the mesh layout, as I call it, mesh layout. Maybe that have another name, I don't care. And we have to render this picture into black and white structure. How we do this? We are using tools, render UVW template. Few important things in here. First, size. You have to pick the size, set the size of the render bitmap into the size that the final texture will have. In the body, that's 248. Uncheck show overlap. That's tool I'm going to talk about a little bit more in the RTT part of this video. And also uncheck seam edges. What's seam edges? Seam edges are the edges that are the border between the object and something that's not the object. They are shown in the yellow-gray color in here, and if you left this object checked this option, they will be also gray or yellow in the bitmap you will receive. So we are going to uncheck this. You click render UVW template, floppy disk, and you are just saving the file as bitmap wherever you want it. Doesn't matter where you save them. Just I suggest to keep order in the file naming, so later on when you will create PSD files with the templates, it will be easier to move around the files to find files you need. That's all about UVW templates. Now we are going to move to RTT. What's RTT? RTT stands for render to texture. Render to texture is a special tool in the Macs that allows to render 3D object into the UVW template. It means that if you have some object in here and you are set the material on it, this material will be rendered into the flat texture of it. It's a pretty handy tool. You can use it in many ways, but we are using them to create shadow layers, alpha channels of the DDS textures, specular layers. How we do them? First of all, you need the light source. Light source in the real life, it's of course sun. this half of the spur, that's dome, it's something like the sky, right? It's covered with the material that's self-illuminating. As you can see, I'm using very light material, um, and that's our source light. Because this is our source of the light, we need to put the object we want to render inside this dome. We are going to do it now by import and merge option. And let's say we are going to work on the body. We are selecting only the body parts, we don't need anything else at the moment. As you could see, we have a problem with the merge option. This problem is set because of the unit setup of this file. Let's set unit setup same as in the Mazda file. Now the merge option should work perfectly. As you can see, engine cover is now in good scale according to the rest of the car. Now what we have to do with it to create the shadow mapping. First of all, it's a rule to remember, a rule that you will have to always use. Always first thing to do is to delete all the transparency objects from the scene. Why? In real life, in material life, you can see through this window right now, but the light source we use in here won't go through this window material. That's why we are just deleting it. Same with the bonnet. We are doing the same with the meshes around the car. Meshes are also transparent. That's first. Second, we need to apply material, also V-Ray material. However, it's not it's normal V-Ray material with just plain color and few settings, right? Like how much it should reflect, retract the ray bounces from the light source, etc. Now, the most important thing is to what is going to be rendered. As you can see in this object, for example, we would like to render engine. You can render shadow of the engine with the engine cover on. Why? Because the engine itself will become too dark. It won't really be shown anything except the black texture. So to render, for example, engine, you have to hide. You have to delete, not hide. That's important thing. Do not hide anything here because it also affects the render. If you don't need something, delete it. However, always important thing for always if you are rendering body parts that are split into few IDs, you will have to create obviously three renders, for one render for each ID. But if you will, for example, delete engine cover and delete bonnet to create rendering of the monocoque, and then you will want to render bonnet and you will merge the bonnet again, it will be probably in the other size than the monocoque, and it also affects the render, the colors of the final render. If you create only body parts that don't contain anything under it, always keep it as one object. That's in for the body, that's all. Now, as you probably remember, I overlapped many objects. Let's enter the UVW editor, select everything UVW editor, and let's go to the chassis ID. As you remember, I overlapped headlights, side markers, some rear lights, some screws, etc. Before you start rendering anything, you have to get rid of any overlapped objects. Why? Because, for example, headlights, screws. We have 4 screws on each side. That means 8 objects are placed one over another. However, this screw has different shadow than this screw. That doesn't really matter in the case of the texture, as it if we will use shading of this screw on the rest screws, nobody will see the difference. However, if you left 8 screws one over another and try to render the texture, the shadows, the shadow layer, you will see that it's causing a problem. I will show you on this example on these screws on the headlights why, and then you will be able to see what's the problem. One more important thing in RTT, thing that matter the most is your processor strength. The more powerful is your CPU unit, the quicker the render will be done. In V-Ray method, with my computer that use i7 from Intel, one render of the texture with 2000 of pixels on the side takes around 2 hours. The brighter texture is, the faster the render will be done. The darker the render is, the more time it will take. That means interior, which obviously will receive a darker texture, the interior will take more time to render than the body parts. Remember about that. Also, second important thing, if you are moving anything in here, moving the parts away from the UVW space, because everything was in UVW space during the render will be rendered, and by everything I mean if you will pick all IDs, everything what's visible with this option here will be tried to be rendered to texture. So everything you have to do at the start is to select everything in this scene in the UVW editor and move it 2 points up with this coordinates tool. Never move anything that will be rendered in the future by a hand, because you will never place them in the same position that it was before. Remember about that, it's important, because in the texture you will receive, if you will move it by a hand, you won't match the UVW template with your rendered shadows. Now let's work with our screw. I think that's our screw, not sure, but let's see if it's lighting up. Yes, it is. Let's move it 2 points down. Now, to prove you there's a lot of textures one over another, look at this. As you can see, I can move them out and there's still something under, because there are 8 screws one over another. Let's collapse that, delete the parts we don't need at the moment. Hit 0. As you can see, render the texture pop-up option is open now. And few important things here too. First, object that's going to be rendered has to be selected. Second, padding 2 points. Padding is how many points will be rendered outside the UVW templates. It's important because if you will set 0 here, the final texture, when you will have images, on these images you will be able to see sharp lines. If you will have padding 2, then the render will go a little bit further, and the result will be really nicely connected textures. Second, map coordinates. Use existing map channel. That means the renderer will use the UVW template you created, UVW layout, channel 1. Many times in here this tool changed the channel to something higher. Remember to set it to 1. Then you will be sure that you are rendering your car, your object with your mapping. Now, output. Add V-Ray complete map. Complete because it will render everything what's in the diffuse channel at this moment, to be honest. 3 dots. We have to save the file as BMP, bitmap. Of course, 60.7 million colors. Now the only thing that is important, size of our texture. For this particular example, we will use 128 over 128, but we will scale up our screw. I'm doing this because that size of texture will take less time to render, and I'm not going to record 2 hours video just to show you this small screw. So hit render and just wait for the result. Continue, of course. You can see the problems around here already. That's obvious problem. I'm going to stop the render at the moment. You can see the result. Some part of the renderer is taken from this screw, some part from this, etc, etc, etc. So it's all mixed up, and that's just a mess. You don't get really good texture with this. So every time, and I really mean it, every time, get rid of any overlapped objects. You can use render UVW template to check if there are some overlapping. Fill part, mode, solid, show overlapped, and overlapped part will be shown with the red. Render UVW template. As you can see, whole object is gray, that means it's not overlapped. Let's move back a little bit. Now, as you can see, 2 objects are here. Sorry. Again, solid, render UVW template. As you can see now, the screw is red, that means it's overlapped by something. Now we left only 1 screw. Collapse 2, render, continue. As you can see, the texture now is really good, pretty clean, without the trouble like we've seen before. I'm again stopping the render. One important thing also, this method I'm using always create two renders, one after another. It's really enough to get one of it. It will always save after it will do one render. It will save it under this name and in this location, and start creating another render that will be called bonnet V-Ray complete map 0001.pmp. And well, I think that's all you have to do about that kind of rendering. There's also one thing that is rendered a bit differently, and those things are wheels. Let's merge wheels of our car. Now let's take a closer look. In the rear rim, in the whole rim, if you render the wheel that's positioned in this way, you will have some bright color here, and on the top part inside the rim it will be pretty dark. But if the wheel will rotate in the game, the dark part will be down and the bright part will be in up position. That's wrong. You have to think how the shadows, the lightning can look on the car, and use it. Use that knowledge. If something can make your shadow wrong, not as you want it to be, then you should think before you do anything. How to render the tires. Tires have to be put on a side, and now it will be lighten up every part the same, so it will be constant shadow over the whole rim. Well, that's all from the max. Let's hide this RTT scene. I have already rendered some of the textures and templates for it, so we are going to move to Photoshop and we are going to create few templates. That's our rim, but let's start with chassis. That's mesh, the UVW template for the chassis. We are copying it, creating new object, and this is our, let's say, template. What we need in template? In template we need three things. First, background. That's plain color. It don't have to be white. It can be any color, but I suggest to use bright and just bright colors, because I will show you later on what's the reason of that. And also I suggest that each ID would have other background colors. That will be really helpful for the guy who will paint the car, because from the beginning he will be able to see look on the car with the base templates on displayed on the car, and see what parts of the car are where on which PSD file. So what we need two groups. First is called mesh. In mesh we are copying our UVW templates. As you can see, mesh is white, the background is black. But because the texture can be or bright or dark, black or white, we need to be secured with both options, and because of that we are using adjustment invert. Now mesh is black and the background is white, but we have other other one template with inverted colors, black background and white mesh. This is, I usually call it black because the lines are black, and the white lines I call white, but not everything. White. On the, well, let's start on black. Black, we have to set dark and white. Now only the dark objects of this layer will be displayed. White to the light, and now only the light objects will be displayed. We can hide now it now. Let's change the color of the background, for example, to red. As you can see, you can now see only the wires, only the mesh layout you created. You don't see the background of these layers. Now second group is shadow. The shadow group has to be not pass through but hot light, and in this shadow we are going to copy rendered parts Now we can do a few different things. As you can see, only the highest layer has the hard light tool on it. We can do two things. First, merge layers. Well, one thing, sorry, my mistake. What thing? Apply the function lighten to each of its layers. Let's hide mesh for a moment. Now you can see all objects from each of the layers. As you can see, it pretty much fits our mesh layout. And now why background color has to be light color, bright color? We have a red, and you can obviously see every part in this, but let's say we use dark red color. As you can see, many things that are really dark in the real car just disappear from here. You barely can see them. That's why the colors have to be bright, don't really red, not really white, but just bright. One more important thing, for the exterior parts, always shadow layers should have opacity on 100% amount. But in the interiors, because they will be rendered pretty dark, pretty bleak, this opacity should be a lot lesser than in here. I'm not having rendered parts of the interior at this moment for this Mazda, but let's show you some textures I create for other car. Lamborghini Miura. Let's go to interior parts, interior material. textures. So as you can see, that's the details of the Lamborghini Miura. It's have gouge, sun, buttons, and all the stuff like this. And shadow layer is has opacity of 25% of it, just to look good. Let's see how it looks with the 100. You can barely see anything. That's no details here, no nice texture. That's why you have to use 25%. 25% is about right. If the windows of the car are pretty big and the render is pretty bright of the interior, you can use less. It's pretty much into your experience with the texturing. You can just left it into 100%, then painter will be able to adjust it manually. Well, we are finished with this car. I hope this series of video was useful for you. From tomorrow I will create another video that will contain other type of car. This is race car. Next I will create road car. Methods are the same, just a little bit different layout. However, I hope these videos were useful. I hope you learned something from them, and maybe some of you changed your attitude or your view, your approach for the mapping, and that change will help the community to receive more and better projects, mods, cars, whatever. So thank you for watching, and see you in the another series.